Hello and welcome to a thought for today on Thursday the 5th of August. I'm going to read from Mark chapter 1 verses 29 to 45. As soon as they left the synagogue, they went with James and John to the home of Simon and Andrew. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they immediately told Jesus about her. So he went to her, took her hand, and helped her up. The fever left her, and she began to wait on them. That evening, after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all the sick and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak, because they knew who he was. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." He replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so that I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he travelled throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and driving out demons. A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was cleansed. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing, as a testimony to them." Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in a lonely place. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. Mark's Gospel is so rich in action and detail, like reading an exciting novel. We can read it again and again and find more to discover. This is at the beginning of his ministry, loaded with examples that we can apply to ourselves today. There's so much to ponder, but let's explore 3 questions that occur to me after reading this passage. Why didn't Jesus want the demons to reveal who he was? Were the disciples frustrated by Jesus withdrawing to a solitary place when there was so much to do? Why did Jesus actually reach out and touch a leper? So why didn't Jesus want the demons to reveal who he was? Well, it seems that by commanding the demons to stay silent, Jesus proved his power and authority over them. He wanted the people to believe that he was the Messiah because of what he did and said, not because of the demons' words, and to reveal his identity according to his timetable, not Satan's. Satan wanted people to follow Jesus for what they could get out of him, not because he was the Son of God who could truly set them free from sin's guilt and power. Why were the disciples frustrated? There was so much to do. I have to admit, I think I would be a little irritated as well. I'm a bit of a Martha from the account of Jesus' visit to the sisters in Luke chapter 10. I'm likely to be found doing and organising rather than stopping to listen and learn. We know Jesus leads and teaches them and us by example. That's so helpful. It's interesting that this withdrawal comes amidst the account of his ministry. So we too need to seek the Lord before the busy day takes over our thoughts, but also perhaps find time to withdraw from the noise and the demands within the day, to focus on God, to follow his example, to learn from him, to reflect on his priorities. I think he's asking us again to pray more often. And why did Jesus actually reach out and touch a leper? The Jewish law declares anyone with leprosy unclean, forbidding contact with them or for any contact or participation in a religious or social activity. This feels a little familiar in our recent experience. But they were truly outcast and even had rocks thrown at them to keep their distance. They were treated like animals. So for Jesus to deliberately touch such a sufferer was deliberately meant to shock, astound, and certainly grab their attention. A teaching point never to be forgotten. Jesus was demonstrating that the real value of a person to God is not on the outside, not what you see. They are no less valuable to God than the so-called clean. We're all guilty of judging people from appearance, but perhaps we are all imperfect and need God's healing. His touch provided by Jesus, and then ultimately on the cross. Jesus then demonstrated obedience in the law by sending the leper to the priest, but cleverly that also verified the miracle to the people. Apparently this law and behaviour applied to many different types of infectious diseases. That seems sensible and again very familiar, given our recent laws and social expectations that restricted our movements and behaviours in order to protect each other. We are all aware, I'm sure, that even if this has been sensible and successful, there are many in this pandemic who have suffered pain and loss, as well as anxiety and loneliness. And that's not just only those that were directly affected. But I hope and pray that our recent situation has given Jesus the opportunity again to reach through us to touch those in need of God's unconditional and universal love. This passage ends, "Yet the people still came to him from everywhere." Let that be our thought and prayer for the whole world today.